Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm still learning how to do this whole webinar thing, and unfortunately, there's no dry runs when it comes to Facebook Live. So I am back for 5 days to sugar freedom, and what your homework will be from today is you will be asked to write your own story. Some of the possible challenges, hey Sandy, I'm glad you're back. I hope everyone comes back to this. But we stopped at some of these challenges could be things like, emotional eating. It could be things like, a brain thing because you've just been doing it for so long. Maybe your challenge is that you're getting into marketing. So I want to hear more about what your challenge is if you're on right now. But what I'd like you to do as an action step is I'd like you to write your own personal story about how sugar affects you and where your challenges are. And you're not going to read it to the whole crowd. Obviously, your voice can't be heard on Facebook Live. But I do want you to read it because I'm going to ask you questions about it and I'm going to ask you to participate. So come back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central. So it's a different time than today, 5 p.m. Central. And I want to hear your story about where do sugar and carbs affect you? Where's your challenge? What's your story when it comes to sugar? And if you're just getting on and you haven't seen the first Facebook Live I did, I got knocked off, unfortunately, accidentally, which happens. I want you to kind of go through day one, listen to the tape. It's not very long. It's only 20 minutes long. Go through the presentation, and I want to see what really resonates with you. What's your sugar story? Where's your challenge? I want you guys to really think about, I'll tell you a quick story before I get off. It's really, really important for all of us to understand what our own stories are. And I'll tell you how I discovered it. It was way before I became a life coach. Knowing and understanding your story is a great coaching tool that we use. But the first time I was asked what my story was when I was hired by Weight Watchers to be a leader. And when you're hired by Weight Watchers, you go through a weekend training. They sort of fly you to the next training, wherever it is, to get you trained. It's sort of like a weekend boot camp, if you will, of learning how to be an effective group facilitator, and of course making sure that you're down on the program, you understand it, and learning how to really a lot of life coaching skills, although I went to life coaching school. But the bottom line is, before we went to Weight Watchers, I went to a weekend for Weight Watchers training in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I stayed there all weekend. And our homework before we came was to write our own story. And they called it a self-disclosure. What's your self-disclosure? What was your story? Possibly how did you gain the weight? Where was your struggle? How did Weight Watchers, you don't even have to say that, like how Weight Watchers helped you, but it was really more about your story of your weight. And so what I'm asking you to do is to write your own story. These 5 days are going to be a journey. All of you and me. And I want you guys to get a lot out of it. This is the place where we're going to hold each other as powerful women. We're going to show up and we are going to talk about why you are addicted to carbs, and we will culminate with how can you stop this vicious cycle. And we can only do that if you participate and show up. and show up as your most powerful self. So I'm going to ask you today as your action step, I do want you to write your story. You are welcome to email it to me if you would like for me to see it. But either way, I want you to bring it to the call tomorrow because we're going to dive into our stories and how that actually affects our ability to gain control over sugar. So, does that sound good, ladies? Thank you so much for joining me on day 1 of 5 Days to Sugar Freedom. I apologize for the glitch. I'm going to try to connect these 2 videos as best as I can. And I will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central, different time than today, 5 p.m. Central, right back here on Facebook Live. Hopefully tomorrow I'll know a little bit more so I don't get kicked off the platform. Okay. To all of you, I'll see you tomorrow.